Welcome back into the Derby Form Show, where we are joined by Luke Radich and also Michael Coleman to take us through what is going to be a key race and what does line up to be one of the best 3-year-old guides that you can find leading into the New Zealand Derby, and that is the 3-year-old Karaka Million Classic, a race that was won by Aegon, who have seen frank that form in Australia and is unbeaten. Group 1 winner, of course, of a 2,000 guineas. Amaralina finishing into second position. Montre Moi finishes third on display, fourth Perfect Scenario, fifth Lord Ardmore, seventh Tannehill, 12th, and Edge of Wonder into 16th position. This was on the 23rd of January on Karaka Million night, and Luke will bring you in around this race. As I said, this is the standard, isn't it? It was 3 lengths above standard, benchmark standard was this particular race, and really does hold as the best guide you can find going into the Derby.
Well, it does, because the form has already stacked up Australasia-wide, hasn't it? Aegon has shown himself to be absolute top class already in Australia. And I feel very sure that Amaralina is the best 3-year-old filly in Australasia. I haven't seen anything in Australasia in the Australian 3-year-old fillies races that she'll be scared of. So this is a super strong form race. Montre Moi, from a Derby perspective, is the best run in the race. I'm pretty confident about that. But I'd also note Lord Ardmore in this race, pretty good. And certainly just the last 100 metres or so, Lord Ardmore struck me as being a horse that will get the Derby trip. So a strong race, a high class race, and a very good chance that the Derby winner comes out of it.
Michael, bring you in around this race, and it was hard to ignore what Montre Moi was able to do, and especially the sectionals would provide us with that also, that this horse over 1,600 metres was strong through the line.
Yeah, he's very strong. You know, he sucked up behind Amaralina, come to the corner and had to come from a fair way back, but he relaxes nice, and he's got a good racing style that stacks up for the Derby, although maybe his racing style, as he gets back a little bit in most of his runs, might not help so much, but he was just so strong to the line, you know, taking ground off those other 2 horses in front of him, and the form that they're in at the moment just speaks volumes for Montre Moi. So that's the run of the race. Lord Ardmore, I thought he was okay. He looks a little bit one-paced. He sort of kept coming home. A few of the others took 3 lengths off him turning in, but he made ground again the last little bit. So step up in distance looks good for him. And on display was honest again. Race 3 wide the trip, so he ran well again.
Michael, we spoke about the Ellerslie track itself, and John O'Benner and Holly Wynyard, they decided to take this option. They've also raced the horse previously at Ellerslie, but then they went down the line of going to Te Rapa in the Waikato Guineas as opposed to the Avondale Guineas. But you feel as though the horse has had enough sighters around Ellerslie, and with this particular run to finish into 3rd position, to see him in the right spot for the weekend's race?
Oh, definitely. I think he showed that he handled Ellerslie well on that occasion. So he looks like a very smart horse, and still an up-and-coming horse, and he's got the right profile, I think, for a Derby horse. So he really looks like the one that's going to be there in the finish with some of the others.
Brendan, can I just say there too, there was some beautiful footage too past the post there, and it's telling. I know some horses are restrained more forcefully after the line than others, so you can't read too much into it. But Montre Moi was the horse that took the longest to pull up. Not far past the post, he was in front of Aegon and Amaralina. That's, I think, a pretty good indication. I kind of think, shouldn't he be favourite for the race? I know at the time of recording he's second favourite. I feel by race start time he may well run favourite.
Yeah. Also, Luke, I'm a big fan of watching horses pass the line. Also, we're going to see the same thing in the Waikato Guineas too, don't we? Where we see the horse who comes from back in the field, and he's one of the last horses to pull up on that particular occasion. Do you think it is around the showcasing factor that he is not the favourite? I've sort of gone into his breeding on the dam side. There is strong UK 2,400 metre form there at the same time to tell me that he is going to be able to see out this trip no problem.
Well, I think breeding's very, very helpful, particularly before horses get to the races, to try to assess what kind of racehorse they might be. But at this stage of their career, we've seen so much of these horses on the track that, yes, you might get some guidance and a step up in distance about which horses will handle it better than others, but I think the better guide is to just judge the horse on type and what you're seeing of them doing at the finish of their races. But I take the point that you make as well. If you're going to just cast him aside because of his pedigree as a 2400 metre horse, then you actually need to look a bit deeper, as you've obviously done. And there's enough to recommend him there, I think.
Race shape, Michael Coleman just mentioned that around where the horse could get in the run. We do see him getting a long way out of his ground in the Waikato Guineas. Is that a little red flag to his name for the weekend? What do you make of his race shape and where he might sit?
I think the draw will mean a fair bit, but I wouldn't assume from the Waikato Guineas that he's going to necessarily get that far back. To me, I'm not suggesting they were just giving him a quiet run, of course, but to me that was a race that he appeared to be ridden with the Derby in mind. That was his grand final. That it will be his grand final, the Derby, and not the Waikato Guineas. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it.
Michael, we'll bring you back in around the race, and we've spent a lot about Motre Moi, but I mean, he was the obvious horse coming out of that race to suggest that coming back to Ellerslie for the Vodafone New Zealand Derby was going to be his key race, with how he's run through the line and with the form that's in front of him. Is that how you sort of read that race overall?
Oh, yes, definitely. He definitely had the flashing red light on him after that performance, and I think he's going to be a well-deserved second or third favourite. And as Luke said, he probably should be favourite in my book, but he looks the one coming through that's going to get the distance, and has got a good turn of foot, and shows that he's got the type to be able to win a derby.